Hello and welcome. Today's presentation is about advancing systematic map or evidence gap map, juxtapose research and practice. So this is based on our work and it is published in Cochrane Evidence Synthesis and Methods Journal. So the title was Advancing Interactive Evidence Maps, Visualizing Service Commissioning Options Alongside Research. So some of you are familiar with interactive evidence gap map. So it typically visualizes characteristics of research evidence and gaps in evidence in a particular field. And we always start with a broad question for an evidence gap map. So such visual representations of available research have been recognized as important and desirable by those involved in evidence-informed decision-making. However, to inform decision-making in specific context, it is necessary to not only be familiar with the research evidence, but to be aware of what has been implemented in practice and to understand how the two relate. So this was our focus of our work. So the aim of that particular systematic map was to present an example of an evidence map on digital drug and alcohol interventions in which the systematic review level evidence is supplemented with information about interventions used in the local context. So here the local context is England. So how we have done this? We use systematic methods to identify systematic reviews, and we have done an online survey to identify interventions in the local context. So now we look at how we identified systematic reviews. We have used the traditional systematic review methodology. So 29 bibliographic databases and registries were identified and searched, and we have used a peer reviewer software with priority screening. So that helped us to speed up the title and abstract screening process. As you know, priority screening is based on text mining and machine learning approaches. So after we have finished title and abstract screening, we have gone to full text screening, and then we screened the full text, and this critical appraisal of systematic reviews was done by Amstar 2. And we coded the systematic reviews based on a set coding criteria. So the uniqueness of this work is how we identified the interventions in the local context. So we have conducted online survey among the stakeholders, so who are involved in developing, commissioning, prescribing, recommending and evaluating digital interventions for alcohol or drug use in England. So we asked stakeholders to identify and provide information about digital interventions that were either in use or potentially available for use in England. So once we have identified interventions, we have identified the interventions from stakeholders. We also looked at some of the apps and websites associated with these interventions and prepared a structured summary. So how we coded systematic reviews? The same criteria was used to code the identified interventions. Then we produced the interactive visual map using the software a peer reviewer, and we have used an organizing framework to develop the map. As you all know, we need some dimensions for x-axis and y-axis for evidence gap maps. So the results I would like to highlight. We had around 18 systematic reviews and 40 interventions in this map. So this is a view of the map. I will provide the link of the publication report and the map in the reference at the end of this presentation. So 18 systematic reviews were included in this map and 40 interventions. So you can see the blue square blocks in the map that represents the primary interventions, and that is coded along the pathway of prevention, early intervention, treatment and recovery. and you can see in the x-axis the focus is on alcohol, drug, or alcohol and drugs, the target for these interventions. And below the blue color blocks you can see some colored blocks. So that is like coded like a traffic light coloring scheme, which you often use to code the systematic reviews if we are assessing the quality. So the green shows that systematic reviews is of high quality. The orange block shows moderate quality systematic reviews, and red block shows low quality systematic reviews. So at a glance we will know how the systematic review evidence is clustered around what aspects of the pathway and how the interventions are we plotted along this pathway. So we'll be able to get lot of information regarding whether these two align or whether there are gaps, and there are so much of information by looking at this. So little bit more details about how we identified interventions in local context. I know that will be of a particular interest for people who are listening to this presentation. So around 59 people responded to the survey, resulting in the inclusion of 23 unique interventions. We also identified a further 17 interventions through personal communications. So we have used survey and personal communication to identify the local interventions. So a total of 40 interventions were identified. So how you can use the map? The map is available online and offers different options for exploring the data and focusing on details within it. It can be browsed, searched using free text, or filtered, either using the filters heading or by simply clicking on the row, column, or cell of interest. So if you go to the web page of the map, you will see information about it, like how to use the map, how you can interact with it. So then you will see all this information is visualized in that map. So the map shows that majority of interventions and systematic reviews focused on alcohol rather than drugs. So this was a key finding. And most interventions and reviews focused on prevention and early intervention rather than treatment or recovery. So you can see that clear gaps we can identify by looking at these findings. So several intervention strategies were identified for which there were no high quality systematic reviews. So if you look at the map, you can see interventions are clustered around certain aspects of the pathway, and there were not much systematic reviews supporting these interventions. So the map also shows the intervention strategies for which there were neither available interventions nor high quality systematic reviews. So a lot of information can be achieved by looking at this visual map. So this is the report of this map. So we have a visual map, we have a journal article, and also we have a detailed report. So benefits of this approach. Why this approach is beneficial? Because this is something unique, and to our knowledge this is the first published map which juxtaposed both research and practice in a single map. So it provides a glance overview of not only the research evidence for different types of intervention, but also we will know what is currently implemented or used in local context. So users can assess whether available interventions are underpinned by rigorous research evidence. Users can easily identify gaps in the evidence base and in current service provision. So by combining international research with local interventions, the map provides a means of exploring the extent to which research from elsewhere aligns with local context. So we believe this is one method of contextualizing evidence. So mostly we get systematic review evidence, it's an international literature. So then we can contextualize to the local settings. What is the limitation of this approach? It is not a limitation, but we would like to acknowledge that we need a substantial amount of time and funding to complete maps of this degree of detail. Because it's not just mapping the literature, systematic review, we need to identify the interventions available in the local context. We need to identify the stakeholders, we need to have some idea about who are the key stakeholders, who are the key people to contact, and how to get the information. And once we know the interventions, we also need to look into the details, some more details in the web pages and also website and things like that. So it requires time and resources, so that could be a limitation for this work. So to conclude, this is a unique systematic map and first of its kind to juxtapose research and practice in this way. By extending evidence maps to include data on service provision in a specific context, country or region, it becomes easier to see whether existing research and practice in a given context are aligned and where gaps in either evidence or practice exist. So that is the strength of doing such a detailed work. So this work expand the scope and potential usefulness of systematic map to combine research and practice. So the benefits of juxtaposing the research evidence on effectiveness with information on currently available interventions in specific context are very clear. So we hope to see future interactive evidence maps push the boundaries even further. So that is the main message I would like to convey through this presentation, that we can push the boundaries of systematic map or evidence gap map, and also we can contextualize by identifying local interventions and see how these two evidences match, like local intervention and the research evidence. So hope this presentation is useful. This is the reference I used. Please like, share and subscribe to this channel. Thanks for listening. Goodbye.